What is good, BAIO family? It's nice for everyone to be here. This is going to be a great topic. Today's topic is going to be how nationhood Liberia is a space to heal. We're going to get into this, and I have a lot of important points that I want to address, and I will be sharing my screen this time to actually make the case as to why nationhood is the answer to heal against the traumas that we face, against the racism that we have. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, of course. Make sure to comment and make sure to register at baioafricstan.org. So make sure you sign up to the website. We would like for you to be here. So today's topic is going to be about nationhood and a space to heal. Now, you'll have a lot of Black power, militant integrationist Negroes talking about, oh, we need to stay right here. We need to build here, right in America. When in reality, you need a space in order for you to heal. You need a space that was designed for you in order for you to thrive, deal with your issues, and deal with your trauma. Now, I got a couple of articles that I'm going to share my screen with because this is going to prove the case as to why we are entitled to nationhood and are entitled to return to the nation state of Liberia. Now, we're going to be talking about, in particular, the analogy that I'm going to use is the state of Israel. Since we like to talk about the state of Israel, I'm going to talk about the state of Israel for a second. And I'm going to share my screen for a quick second. Okay. So right here it says the case for a Palestinian right of return. Now you're saying, what does Palestinian right of return have to deal with Black Americans and our right to return? Right? If you scroll down later in this topic, and it is in the Guardian, and it talks about that right here, because it says on the face of this makes sense. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights declares that everyone has the right to leave any country, including his or own, and to return to his country whenever he feels like it. It is UN law of human rights that we have the right to return to the land of our ancestors. So for anybody to come at you and say, you don't have a right to return to Africa, you don't have a right to have citizenship, just tell them, do you believe in international law? Do you believe in human rights? Because if you did, you would understand it is our right to leave and establish our own nation state. Now, they were talking about here later on in the article, when they were talking about, a right of return, something caught my eye, and it dealt with, they were talking about Black Americans in this article and how we have a right of return as a form of reparations. And make it specifically clear in this article that as compensation, we have the right of return. Now let's go to the CARICOM 10-point plan of reparatory justice. Okay, one is a full formal apology. What does number 2 say? What does number 2 say? Repatriation. Over 10 million Africans were stolen from their homes and forcibly transmitted to the Caribbean as the enslaved chattel and property of Europeans. The transatlantic slave trade is the largest forced migration in human history and has no parallel in terms of man's inhumanity to man. This trade is in chance bodies, was highly successful commercial businesses for the nations of Europe. The lives of millions of men, women, and children were destroyed in search of profits. The descendants of these stolen people had a legal right to return to their homelands. And that's what I was going to share right there. So these Captain Black Americans are telling you, you running. Yet I literally just broke down to you that we have a fundamental right of return, according not just to the UN, but to the CARICOM, which for people who do not know is dealing with the Caribbean. We have a right of return. because they understand, listen, I was forced here against my will. I did not choose to come here. I have a right to return back to the land of my ancestors and to heal. I have the right to be able to go to a place where I feel safe, where I feel like I don't have a target on my back, where I feel that the police are going to come after me and make me a hashtag anytime they want to, where I feel like I don't have job opportunities, where significant amount of black men, almost up to a third of black men, have been at least in jail due to the prison industrial complex. They understand that I have a right of return. And when you have this right of return, it allows for you to deal with your issues. It allows for you to collectively deal with those traumas. In order for you to move forward, you have to go back and deal with your traumas. If you don't deal with your traumas and instead you focus exclusively on trying to move forward, your past traumas will come back to haunt you. And the reason why is because your past traumas will show up eventually. All of these so-called, why all of these so-called people forget about is people love talking about the Bible and stuff, and you can believe in the Bible whatever you want. I'm not a religious person like that, so this is not really my cup of tea. But one of the things that they brought in the Bible is whatever is in the dark comes to the light. And the reason why that point is so strong is because you may think you've gotten over it, but eventually, it will come back and manifest itself. It's in your subconscious. It doesn't go away. So when you see in the Black community all of this brokenness that we have, when you see, oh, this black on black violence, as they say, even though that's a product of white supremacy, when you see gentrification, when you see poverty, all of this stuff is manifested because of the environment that we are in. All of it. When you see this dysfunction of black men versus black women, when you see all of these divisions and tactics going on in the community, it's a result of the fact that we don't have the space to heal. And so all of the pains and traumas that you have, they manifest themselves one way or another. Think about today's topic, and we're going to talk about it, later on throughout the day, the gender war. We're going to talk about that briefly for a moment. You have the situation where black men and black women are always constantly at each other's throat, talking about what black men did this and women do this, and one of them is responsible for. When the reality of it is you're living in a system that created this dysfunction. Remember, it was the prison industrial complex and the war on drugs that led to the separation of black families. You forget about the fact that it was slavery that led to the separation of black families and led to the brutal sexual assault of black girls, black boys, black men, and black women. We've heard of buck breaking before. But many of our children were molested by white slave owners. Before they were even grown, they were being abused at a young age. And the helplessness that we've had all of these years continues to manifest itself to this day. This is why you see the constant at each other's throats. This is why you see the domestic violence and the domestic abuse. This is why you see the dysfunction happening in our communities. When you've been traumatized, when you feel that you have no purpose in this world, when you feel that nobody cares about you, that all society cares about you is the fact that you are a walking sexual object and you have no intrinsic value, that's going to trigger you into your subconscious. When you're not taught your history, when you are not taught about Liberia, when you're not taught about your presidents, your vice presidents, your judges, your lawyers, your doctors, all of this has an effect on us. And you wonder why we are in the situation we are in. You wonder why you haven't seen a lot of economic progress. You wonder why you have not seen a lot of progress. And this is because when you don't have a nation of your own, when you are a stateless nation, you have no control over your social, economic, and political reality. Think about it. What are ways that Black men today are able to force power in American society? We don't have a lot of power in this society. We don't have a lot of power to dictate the terminologies of the country, the economics, how things are redistributed. We don't have control over that. We are dealing with white racism that impacts everything. People talk about, an example would be the Democrats and the Republicans. So this is one of the constant points that we're picking two slave masters. And why don't Black Americans ever decide, you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And the answer to that is simple. When you don't have a nation state, when you don't control political reality, guess what? You have to deal with what other communities want. You know, we have a lot of these people say, can we have a space just to ourselves? And I always think, how can you have a space for yourself in a country that's meant for everybody, the United States? So what you want is you want exclusion without a nation state. So you want the privileges and benefits of being a nation, but you don't want to be a nation yourself. You want some proto-nationalism, this nation within a nation, similar to Native American reservations. This is what I'm hearing. The constant Republic of New Africa, free the land. The Republic of New Libya. We want all of this, but we don't want a nation state. One of the things that I talk about, an example would be Puerto Rico. Everybody here knows how many people on this BL channel that Puerto Rico has its own Olympic team, and that is one of the major factors as to why some people oppose Puerto Rico becoming a state. That Puerto Rican national team is their team, and they get to claim it exclusively for them because it is on their territory. And they want their Puerto Rican team to be their Puerto Rican team. They don't want their Puerto Rican team to be absolved into the U.S. and now it's just the U.S. team. You have Puerto Rican governors make promises about, oh, we can still keep our team, when many of them make the claim, no, once we're stayed in the U.S., we lose our team. Now, what does this once again have to do with us? You have the ADOS movement and the FBAs and all of these movements talking about, why can't Black Americans just have something to our own? And my simple response is, you're not a nation. You are a stateless nation, a stateless people. How are you going to be exclusionary in a country that's multicultural and multiracial? So y'all want to be able to separate yourselves. We're talking about, should Black people separate from society? I'll never forget this. I watched this video. They were saying how Black America is going to separate from society without leaving it. And I'm just baffled at this. Make sure you guys ask your questions too. Make sure to ask your questions. Let's get more involvement. Make sure you guys do that. But I'm just baffled at this. Like, wait a minute. So you are saying we're going to leave America without leaving it? That makes no sense. That's literally a contradiction. If you're going to leave American society, you have to leave American society. As a matter of fact, when we talk about voting, let's talk about voting because there is another type of voting. We need to talk about this. Okay. We need to talk about this other form of voting. And I got it up for you. Okay. I'm about to share my screen again. And I'm about to talk to you guys about the other type of voting that they don't talk about. Let's talk about this voting for a second. Let's talk about this voting. Foot voting. Foot voting is expressing one's preference through one's actions by voluntarily participating or withdrawing from any activity, group, or process, especially physical migration, to leave a situation one does not like or move to a situation where one regards as more beneficial. We can always vote with our foot. We already got the case right here. Look at this. I'm going to read this paragraph, the end of this paragraph right here, to perfectly home it in. In 2019, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, the U.S. most powerful pro-Israel lobby group, applied in Congress for imposing sanctions aimed at forcing the Syrian government to, among other things, permit the safe, voluntary, and dignified return of Syrians displaced by the conflict. That same year, the Union of Reform Judaism, in justifying its support for reparations for Black Americans, approvingly cited a UN resolution that defines reparation as including the right to return to one place of residence. So, why can't my reparations include Liberia? Why can't I have that? And Donna C, you are absolutely right. They want to move to another state with just Black people, not understanding you still living in America. You gonna take 5 southern states? Take 5 southern states that you forget about this. Black people are 13% of the population. The blackest state in America is 38%. Underrated Mind says, I'll take a Black Africa over Black America any day. Exactly. Because one of the things I'm going to also debunk this point, the blackest state in America is 38%. Okay. And Black people are 13% of the population. Let's say that Black people move to the South. Other races of people are also moving to the South. It's not just Black people. So you're going to move to the South. And then not realizing that other groups of people are moving there too. So you think that you're going to have a Black majority in these southern states. You really think that? You really think that the white people are just not going to move in to stop you from having a majority because they outnumber you? What I do simply, if I see that Black Americans are becoming the majority, I'll just simply start moving in, and I'll just start making sure that that number doesn't reach 50%. He said, right. What's the 5 states to other 40 something? 45. You get 5 southern states, they're just going to change the electoral college system. And remember, let's apply the other logic. What? If we look at the electoral college, these southern states are not worth much. If we look at the map of how much these states are worth, let's see. Georgia is 16. South Carolina is 9. Alabama is 9. Mississippi is 6. Louisiana is 8. If we add up the numbers, 8, 14, 23, 39, 48, you get 48 electoral votes. And let me share my screen for a second. So you have 48 electoral votes. I want y'all to bear with me again. 8, 6, 14, 23, 39, 48. California has 55 electoral votes. All of the states that you're talking about would just add up to one state. What's your point? So you're talking about healing. Ruler 2 said these ADOS FBA YouTubers get a lot of super chats spouting BS. Yeah, that's what they do. And like you said, NDR 1981, 48. California's 55 to our 48. Wow. So that's your argument? Well, we're just going to succeed. So hold on, wait a minute. So you're going to leave the United States. You're going to leave the United States within the United States and think the U.S. is not going to respond? Make it make sense to me. Can somebody please make it make sense to me? Because this is not making no sense. But that's neither here or there. That's the point that I wanted to bring up. When you have Liberia, and why wouldn't you want to claim Liberia? You know, if you want to do research on Liberia yourself, I got it right here, all of the receipts right here. Okay? Why wouldn't you want to claim Liberia as your homeland? Why wouldn't you? You don't want all of this greatness? The Declaration of Independence? You don't want this greatness? So from Benjamin Coates on here, letters to Frederick Douglass from Benjamin Coates emphasizes the importance of Liberia to the anti-slavery cause. Another Liberian immigrant, letter from George Seymour, Liberian immigrant, to Ralph Penny of New York Colonization Society, 1851, calls on free Blacks in the United States to immigrate to Liberia and support the redemption of Africa. Okay, article in the African Repository. African Colonization by a Man of Color by Augustus Washington, who I've constantly mentioned. An endorsement by an American free Black of the American Colonization Society and the cause of Liberia. This doesn't matter to you? You want to ignore this history. You want to ignore this literature, Land of the Almighty Dead by one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence, Hillary T. This doesn't matter to you? None of this matters to you? You're not proud of what your ancestors did? But you proud of staying in a country. You proud of staying in a country that abused you, that lynched you, that buried you alive, that did experiments, that committed eugenics, that committed mass atrocities against you. Okay, almost put you in gas chambers. But we're not proud, but we're proud of this country that's done all of that to us. Jabari, could you expand upon the reparations angle to use Liberia and other African nations as healing spaces? Why is this angle not talked about? Should reparations provide multi-view options? It should be. But oftentimes, Baruti, when you hear reparations is, Harlem can perfectly tell you, this is the phrase that they give you. That's the phrase that they give you. That's their slogan right here. Cut the check. That's their version of reparations. Just getting a check. Not the fact that reparations is restoring to pre what happened. Mind you, these people don't know nothing about Africa, and yet they're talking about Africa. Ruler 2 said greatness takes worse. Most MFs want to be like and share. That's really what it is. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to put in the time, the energy. All they want to do is just say, cut the check. Just give us the check. Not understanding that takes negotiations, that takes what's going to be in our best interest, what's going to be in their best interest. Umoja says staying in America and expecting to heal is like trying to treat a soldier for PTSD while they're still fighting on the front line at war. And that's exactly what it is. You're in an environment that's constantly replaying Black trauma. And your response to that is, let me stay in this to see if I can better that. One of the things that people tell you about an apology is that in an apology, it is not the person who did the harm that determines whether or not it's been forgiven. It's the person whom you have harmed that decides that. And we have people in our community that think that as long as being harmed is okay, that that's okay. And it's not. It's not okay. It's not justified. Just imagine what Black people could build today without the physical chains. Africa would be envied. It would be. And speaking on that too, NDR 1981, there is this good article. I'm talking about that we're missing out. We're missing out on this. We're missing out on this. Look at this. Look at this fact right here. Look at that. Trade pact could boost Africa's income by $450 billion. So we choosing to do it right here over that 450 billion that we can have access to. It would add 76 billion to other parts of the world. But we're gonna choose to do it right here over this. So this don't matter. Like Ruler Chain said, there's literally hundreds of billions to be distributed just in improving infrastructure. Right. That doesn't include agriculture. That doesn't include technology. That doesn't include space. That doesn't include healthcare. There's literally so many opportunities that could be made. Solar energy, wind energy, worker cost. There's so many opportunities. And yet we rather be in a place where we are being reminded over and over and over and over. And speaking of which, let's talk about that for a second. Even after George Floyd, I need y'all to understand this. I'm about to share again my screen because I'm bringing the receipts. I'm not just here to mumble. I'm bringing receipts. I'm bringing receipts. Look at this. I'm not here to play. A majority of Americans say police should be formed, but most white people still don't think police treat Black people differently. After everything we've done, it still hasn't moved the needle. At what point do we say, "Nah, bro, I'm not dealing with this." Like, okay, this obviously is not working. It's time to take this. So we're talking about this. Do you agree with the guilty verdict of the guilty verdict in the trial of Derek Chauvin? 95% of Democrats agree. Only 52% of Republicans agree. Once again, at what point do we decide to ourselves, this ain't this ain't it. This ain't it. Okay. On the whole, a majority of USA would enjoy better relationships than now, including 61% of Black Americans and 53% of Latinos. I don't understand where this is coming from, but let's continue on. Do you have confidence in your local communities to build trust in their communities? Once again, this is a year after George Floyd, all of this stuff, and this is still happening. At what point do we say, this ain't it? This ain't it. We seen this over and over and over and over and over. And yet we still are dealing with this. For many Blacks, reparations is not about healing. It is seen as far too many to conduct and facilitate the alleviation of Black-white wealth gap and to promote per capita economic inclusion. Per capita doesn't mean anything. And let me tell you why. Per capita doesn't mean anything if your overall human development index is poor. You have countries in Africa that are richer than that are poor, much poorer than Equatorial Guinea. And yet Equatorial Guinea is in the medium human development index. Equatorial Guinea's GDP per capita, I kid you not, if we look at it right now, Equatorial Guinea GDP per capita. Okay, in 2008, Equatorial Guinea's GDP was 22,000. It was 21,000 in 2012. And now in 2019, it's literally almost the same as Gabon. And despite the fact that it had 22,000. If we were to look at it in terms of GNP per capita, understand that at its height, it had a GDP per capita of 28,000. That was richer than Chile was. And Chile at that time was South America's richest country. Today, Chile is about where Equatorial Guinea is. So it doesn't matter on a per capita income if it's not being developed towards human development index. It doesn't matter. Great. You have a per capita income. Do you control the wealth? Is the system built to include you? Because here's the thing, you can throw money at the issue. It don't matter if you throw money at the issue. You got to get rid of the system. The system is doing exactly what it was designed. Peace, Holla. Peace, Deontay Ford. I didn't get to say peace to y'all, but yeah, peace to everybody in the chat. Making sure y'all ask questions. But that whole concept of reparations needs to change because that's not what reparations is strictly about. And Caricom breaks it down perfectly. That's not what reparations has been about. It's always been about repairing to pre the atrocities. Always. It's not about, strictly the money, cut the check. It's about all of that. Your right to live in peace. Your right to live in the land of your ancestors. Your right to make sure that the government holds up to its agreement. That's what it's about. It's not about anything else. And if somebody tells you that reparations is strictly about cutting the check, they are absolutely wrong. Understand, when we talk about Israel, the UN created Israel, although Israel was originally occupied by the British. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed and Israel was created. Well, Palestine. They were deciding they were going to create a Jewish state and an Arab independence movement. So Britain sponsored immigration to Palestine. And then the UN in 1948 created the State of Israel. And of course, that led to the Arab-Israeli wars and all of that stuff afterward. But the reality of it is that it's not just about the harms that were committed. It's about making sure that everything that pre-happened is corrected. Holla brings up a great point. It says, instead of telling the woman to leave the abusive relationship, Black Power Americans and militant integrationists want to teach her jujitsu and gun training. And do they not understand that that harms both of you? You can teach that anytime, but at the end of the day, it's going to harm you and it's going to harm them. Because guess what? You're always on alert. You always have to be aware. He said LOL like the Jennifer Lopez movie. It's just it's like really like underrated mindset. Like it doesn't make sense. It's not rational. So you're gonna teach me jujitsu when that means that I gotta be on alert at all times. I can never relax and ease. I'm always on alert. I have to always be in this heightened sense of awareness, being aware of where I walk at, being aware of what I say, making sure I'm in the right location at the right time, make sure that I don't go in an overly rich neighborhood so people don't assume that I stole or I'm a criminal. And that creates stress. That affects your immune system. That affects your nervous system. Okay? It causes you to age faster because you're spending so much time, energy trying to just make it. And I'll tell my story again. When I was in South Africa, when I was in South Africa, Hullop says they want the woman being abused to have a mono Mexican standoff with her abuser. Yeah. And can we I'm here, y'all. Y'all give me a moment. Give me a All right, fam. All right, fam. I'm on here because there was some ruckus in the background, and I don't want y'all to hear all that craziness. So, okay, I'm back. But yeah, it's just they want this, great standoff. Yeah. Okay, y'all, I'm back again. Once again with craziness. But yeah. But Hall, it's not just that. Have we forgotten about Centoya Brown? Have we forgotten about Centoya Brown? Remember what happened with her? Remember what happened to Centoya Brown? She did what to her abusers, and what ended up happening to her? Did we forget about that? Why not just avoid the entire situation? Why not just avoid the entire situation? Why would I sit here and do all of that when I could just avoid the whole situation? One of the best things that I've learned is just to avoid the situation. Don't even get in the situation. Just avoid it. That's the best way to deal with a situation. Hold said that's called running. That's called running. And my response is, what's wrong with running? There's a reason why animals run. There's a reason why. There's a reason why a gazelle runs. There's a reason why a buffalo runs. There's a reason why you have run. There's a reason you have a fight or flight response. If you can't fight it, or if you're fighting and you keep losing, the answer is to leave. It's simple as that. Because if you don't run, you're going to die. And then what are you going to say to them? What are you going to say to that? So I'm supposed to risk my life trying to fight when I'm fighting a losing battle. I just need people in the chat. Can people in the chat please tell me what is the militant integrationist? Please tell me what is the Black Power American record in terms of wins and losses. I need people to please tell me what that is. NDR, if you want to, yes, they can be. Did you watch our interview with Zawadi EM? Go watch our interview from last week. That was really informative. And she talks about how they welcome African Americans and how she brings African Americans all the time. But yeah, I need people in the chat to please tell me, what is the militant integrationist win-loss record? What is it? Are we 5-6? Are we 11-12? Are we 7-100? Can somebody please? Vic said 3-155. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's more likely. We're on a losing streak. We're still on the losing streak. They still haven't gotten on a win streak. So if we're on that losing streak, why are we still fighting? Holland said we got to teach these women how to defend against the takedown, develop a good ground, and pound game and armbar submission. Oh my God. Underrated mind said 0-500 in years. Oh my God. That we on a 500 game losing streak. We set the world record. We on a 500 game losing streak. Mm-hmm. We about to break the internet. So, but it's embarrassing, y'all. It's embarrassing, and there's nothing else to it. I mean, I'm tired of having to walk around in a state of rage and always being bitter and always like I was watching the African Diaspora News Channel, and Phil was talking about how when he reports stories, people feel sad, people feel depressed, people feel like there's no hope. And if you feel that way in America, why don't we just leave? That's why we at the BAIO we don't keep talking about white supremacy left and right. We talk about nationhood because what's the point? We're gonna keep feeling depressed about a situation because I remember when I was in high school, and I'll never forget this. I cried one night saying I got to get out of here. And so why would I continue to go through that sense of pain and that sense of depression? Why would I continue to do that when I could just go feel safe, where I could feel that I have my own home? Why would I feel that way? Why? Why would I keep doing that to myself? Why would I keep, you know, y'all just playing. Underrated mindset, teach them that anaconda submission in that ground pound game, that Stone Cold Stunner or the RKO. Now we got to give him the F5. Remember that? Remember John Cena? We got to teach him the the John Cena. Or how about Rey Mysterio? Remember that 619? Remember that? Remember the 619 for Rey Mysterio? What else? Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chan Music. No, we're gonna have to get Triple H's pedigree. Remember that? Booker T. Washington, Scissors Kick. We got to teach them that. No. Remember Bret Hart. Remember Bret Hart's cross heart. Remember that. Remember that submission. How about? Oh no. How about Undertaker's rest in peace? We got to teach them Undertaker's rest in peace. We got to teach them that. I'm still good with my WWE. I'm still good with my WWE. Remember Kane's choke slam? Remember that? The rock bottom. Ronan said the rock bottom and the people's elbow. Mm-hmm. Now remember the shuffle? Remember the shuffle? We got to give him the shuffle too. We got to do that. You know, man. Holissa said we got to teach them everything except getting the F out the damn house. That's true. We have to teach them everything but getting out. And that shouldn't be the case. The case should be is I should be able to just get out of it. How about we just not fight? That's a better thing. How about we just not fight? Isn't that a better thing? How about we just not fight? Think about it. Nobody gets harmed. Nobody gets hurt. It's free. Requires no energy. Don't we like free stuff? That's something you can get for free. There's no need for a discount. No need for a coupon. You don't need to put on layaway. You don't have to do none of that. All you gotta do is just walk out the house. It's free. I don't know. I need to make sure to remind people that it's free. Doesn't require a coupon. You don't have to put it like we used to do on layaway. We don't have to do none of that. All you gotta do is walk out the house. That's it. And that's what we gotta do. Our stress, our anxiety, our fears in dealing with racism will be over the minute we just walk out and we're free. That's how I felt in South Africa. I was planning on going to Botswana, but I never got a chance to. But that's how we felt. And who wouldn't want that? Everybody in the chat, I want to know, how many of y'all want to live in a country where you can just sit back and relax on the beach, where you can have a tropical smoothie, where you walk around and you deal with people that relate to you, that understand you, you have a common heritage, you understand each other's pain, y'all can sympathize. How about, where you can walk around and there are blocks of Black-owned businesses where you don't have to say the word Black-owned. All you got to say is, I'm just walking down the street. How many of y'all want to walk in and see Black people smiling, Black people doing co-ops, Black people, sitting at the CEO chair, we doing worker co-op? How many of y'all want to see Black children doing research, working at labs, doing experiments? Who wants to see that? Who wants to see that? I want to know. Who want to see that? Who want to see Black men uplifting each other? How many of y'all want to see your bridges and your skyscrapers named after your folks? How many of y'all want to see a Malcolm X holiday, or a Marcus Garvey Day, or a RBG Flag Day, or a Yamoja Day? Who want to see that? Vic Shepard said that would be fire. It would be fire. Ronan Black said, woke militant integrations preach that there is nobility and honor engaged in the antiquated misery, merchant struggle, fetish battles. Yeah, like it's some sort of honor to be beaten and to be stressed and to, having to struggle all your life and then you die and you wasted all of that for your future generation. Yeah, that's an honor. No, it ain't. At BL Afghanistan, how many BL members are in Liberia to date? We don't have many right now. However, okay. I know what you're trying to say. We don't have much right now, to go on, but we do. He says, I want to be able to walk through our parks and pick fruit off the trees. Haul up, how about the blossoms? The tropical rainforest. Who doesn't want to see this? Like I said, who doesn't want to see this? The tropical rainforest. We have the largest tropical rainforest in West Africa. Imagine taking our kids on a science trip. They're walking through the Gola rainforest and they get to see all of the pygmy hippos. Wouldn't you want your kids, your aunties, your nephews, your nieces, your cousins, your sons and daughters-in-law? Wouldn't y'all want to see that? I'm just saying because I want to get us pumped up. I want to get us pumped up for this because I'm excited for this. I think about this all the time. Imagine what it'd be like with our own Olympic team. Imagine having our own, like I said, the government where you have the president, the vice president, the military, the chiefs, the generals, all in it. If we want this, we have to make it happen. Holism says, I want our park to put prospect parks to shame when it comes to bikes and running past. And we can. And Donna C., you are right. I think about it all the time too. And this is the point that irks me. You know, we should be able to think about this all the time. I remember watching this video. It says, what if African Americans had their own country? And since I'm not on my laptop anymore, I can't share my screen. But I remember this point. I remember this point. And it was written by a man by the name of Afric Network. And it was a vlog. And he said, what if African Americans had their own country? It got 218 likes. So the majority of people liked it. I want you to listen what Team Africa said. I want you to look at these comments. I'm thinking about maybe just for this 1 second, just putting up my screen. But I'm going to read you the comments. This was 5 years ago, before all of this. Look at what they say in the comments. Team Africa 5 years ago. A nation of our own is our destiny. And this is the conversation we need to be having instead of trying to get others to treat us right and stop oppressing us. That's what it says. Like I said, I really need to share my screen because it's better for y'all to see it. But this is what they said. Samaje Manuel 3 years ago said, having our own country would be beautiful. Joseph Johnson 4 years ago said, I think it's time for African Americans to separate themselves and get their own. And this was 5 years ago. Let me continue to read the comments. If African Americans had their own land country, we would teach real history, exploding the areas of economic development, mental, better colleges, corporations, so forth. He says, X-Man says, I dream about this question all the time. Holism says, I want at Ronan Black to be in charge of our traffic system and DeWoo to be in charge of our electronic security. Rule of Two says all we have to do is write up an action plan, generate revenue, and start building. People will show up once they have something to actually follow. Agree, and that's what I've been doing. That's why I wrote the manifesto. That's what I'm trying to write the case of, African American automatic citizenship in Liberia. This is why I've been connecting, because we really got to start making moves. And that's why I'm excited for this upcoming trip that we are having this upcoming year to Liberia, where we can start making inroads. We can work with organizations, civil societies, really push and make our presence felt. But I'm going to continue to read these questions. X-Man 4 years ago said, I dream about this question all the time. That's what X-Men wrote 4 years ago. Lucinda Kids 5 years ago. I really like the idea of Black Americans embracing their culture and doing positive things. And she said, oh, it's really long. It's really long, but it's really long. This is what we're talking about. This is what they were talking about. And yet all we did, Donna C said, after last year with all the police violence, I had to get therapy. I had to disassociate myself from the media. America is not the place for Black people. And one of the things that Akon said was America was not built for Black people. And this is where language is so important. I need people in the BL, well, we know this, the distinction between built by and built for. It was built by Blacks through Native American land, through Native American extermination. Of course, they wiped the Native Americans off the land. But it was built by slave labor, but was not built for Black people. And that's what you have to understand. It's like me as a civil engineer or as somebody who works in housing, although the only difference would be I'm getting paid a decent wage or a decent salary, I'm getting benefits. But the concept is still similar. You're paying me to build your house. I'm building it for you. It's not for me. Okay, it's not my house. This house is being built by me, but it's not for me. Since it's built for you, I'm doing what you tell me to. If you want your house to be this color, it's going to be this color. If you want your house to have a particular shape or this much square inch, or sorry, square feet, I'm doing what you want me to do because this is not for me. How you want the house to be is what it's going to be because I'm here to service your needs. Mm, Liberia was built for Black people. America was built by Black people. Unfortunately, a slave doesn't have equity in the property they are forced to build. Exactly, Hola. Thank you for, and that's the point we were trying to say. Donna C says exactly. People don't want to leave because it was built by enslaved people, and FA want to fight for what is due to us. I don't want to wait. Exactly. I'm not gonna wait. Been trying to get one of my oldest friends to join us. He's an architect, but he rather engage in feel-good symbolic discussion in color change multicultural coalition discussions. And my whole thing about that is you know, we're trying if you're trying to build nationhood, it doesn't require us to do that. The multiracial. This is a point that needs to put our organization. If nation playing the other don't is American culture. Okay, this is American culture. Mm-hmm. Ingo says the people who brag about Black people building U.S. do not realize they are colonized people inside of the U.S. and do not have any power to enforce decolonization. Exactly. And what you're referring to is called internal colonialism. There is a phrase called, oh, am I breaking up? Am I breaking up, Paul? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. But Ngol, you're right. It's called internal colonialism, internal colonization. And that's one of the points that I brought up too. We are an internally colonized people. And that's what you're describing, Ngol, I think that's how you pronounce it, is internal colonialism. And you're right, we are an internally colonized people. And Ronan Black says exactly, Donna C, antiquated, dead-end generational struggle fetish battles. I'm not for it. I'm not for it. And us at the BIO, we don't want to be a part of that. We don't want to deal with that. And one of the things, and maybe it's because I'm good at speaking and I'm able to appeal to people, but to all the people who are watching who may not be BAIO members, I want you to sit down and I want you to deeply think about it. And I'm about to explain it to you because I'm really good with words. You know, I've been a really good speaker when I was young. In high school, I won a lot of awards with that. Almost got to state for a literary meet, but I felt just shy. But I was part of a poetry slam, so I'm gonna use my skill. Okay. To my fellow non-BAIO members, don't you want to live in a society where you are able to be at peace, where you are able to enjoy a slice of cake and not have to worry about your veins and your nerves beating at the speed of light? Where at the very end of the horizon, the sun shines bright. Where your children are able to look at the people on the posters in the classroom and realize that they have the sky as their limit, where they feel that the universe appreciates them, where they feel that there is a purpose in place for them. Don't you want your people to have days that are reflective of them? Don't you want a flag that was designed by your people? And most importantly, don't you want a flag where you can feel proud of, where you can feel, where you can sing the national anthem, where you can wave your flag and realize that all of the comrades who are waving the flag beside you were those who been in the trenches with you? Don't you want to live in a place where your attitudes, your viewpoints are the center, where what you say is the norm, what you say is the law of the land? Don't you want that? And to my BL family members, I know we're approaching the hour mark. I don't like to keep people here forever, but I'm gonna talk maybe for a little bit, 5, 10 more minutes, and then I want to end this. But that's what I really want. You know, and I know Ronan, maybe if I talk to your architect, maybe I could convince him because I'm really good at persuading people. But I would simply ask your architect, who talks about, the feel good stuff. I could easily do that. And I would simply just ask your architect person who is still on the fence and is reluctant to the BIL to simply ask him, don't you want to see your infrastructure projects displayed all throughout the world? Do you want to be taught in architectural textbooks, in architectural history? As one of your fellow comrades who is a civil engineer and who has many brothers who are architectural engineers, don't you want your kids to be able to scroll through the textbook and see your name under people who influenced the country's history? Don't you want your architecture to be seen all throughout Africa, whether or not it's from the tip of Rabat in Morocco all the way down to Cape Town in South Africa? Ronan Black said he isn't even on the fence, Shabari. He may not be on the fence. We get the people we can, but I'm not going to give up. I'm like that. I'm like that girl from the EFF. She said, I don't give up, and I'm not going to give up. But, he may not be devoting all my time, but I'm going to, like me, I don't give up. But, we just we keep trying. Eventually things will change. We just got to keep trying, and I'm optimistic. I may be pessimistic about what's going on in America, but I'm optimistic about nationhood. I'm optimistic about what we can bring. I'm optimistic about what we can do. I'm optimistic about it all. And we need to be optimistic about it, continue to carry a positive attitude about it. And, just remember what our founding fathers are. And, once they see what we do, they will then start to follow us. Remember, it only takes 5%. It doesn't take much. We can fund this movement. Remember, Garvey came to America. He was fairly known, but he wasn't really known, and created the largest Black mass movement in history. We can do that. All we have to do is believe. So with that, BL family, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Make sure to comment. Make sure to be part of the lounge for BAIO members. Make sure to be a part of that. Being part of the lounge is important. Make sure you are a part of that. We would appreciate it. He said, agree, Jabari. I have ongoing frustration conversations with him. I give him the benefit of the doubt because I have known him since I was 10. And Ronan, you know what? I think maybe once he starts to see that we're actually there and we're actually like doing stuff, I think maybe, he would join. I think like Umoja and said, like Rule of Two said, we need to focus on getting to the continent. Once they see us building, once they see us with the negotiation, once they see that we're actually building, that we're connecting with the people, that we have political influence, it may start, you might start to see the tide turn. Because I don't think it's not that our people don't believe in nationhood. I think it's because they haven't seen it. And once they see nationhood, once they see it, once they are able to feel that they are part of a movement, I feel like it can really turn the tables. So remember to be part of the lounge that's going to be here today. tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, like Underrated Mindset, the lounge. The topic is going to be ending today's, the crazy gender war that's happening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, join. Make sure to register. And rule of two is right. I don't believe in begging anyone to do anything. There are a lot of seriously pro-Black people who aren't gonna move until they see movement, and that's really what is true. Like it's like a bandwagon effect. We're gonna have, like I said, we're gonna have to get to the continent. It's just that simple. We're gonna have to get to the continent, and we're gonna have to move. We're gonna have to join. We're gonna have to do projects, and we're gonna have to seriously meet with people. No. Liberia is not a member of the Commonwealth. It's not part of anything. It's part of what's called the Union of the Mono River, which we created. It's Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. No, it's not part of the British Commonwealth. So, and it's not part of any U.S. free association. So, in Goa, it's good on that part. Make sure to register once again at the BAIOAfricStan.org/register. And if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to take a last few questions. And if not, I will end this live stream. So I'm going to give like maybe another minute or two for any questions. And if not, just make sure that you join the organization. We really want to see you there. And like, Rule of Two said, it's not going to happen until we move. Remember Liberia 2022. Remember that. It's going to be great. There are so many opportunities. I'm going to try to reach out to many more Liberian brothers and sisters to make this a memorable, thing for us. So, thank you to all the BL family members that are in this chat. It was great chopping it up with y'all. It's past an hour and 7 minutes. So I'm going to end this live stream right now. So thank you guys so much. All right, fam. Peace.